There's a wonderful phrase, part of medical ethics, that says first do no harm. And I think this is extremely important. A lot of people kill through kindness. They're busy maintaining their boat, they're wearing away things like the gel coat, and they're actually destroying the thing they love the most in all the world, which is bad news. Now, there are some things, quite obviously, that do need regular maintenance, and these are mainly mechanical. Engines, for instance, need regular overhauls, servicing and oil changes and all the rest. But there are things like the top sides, which, if you are too energetic, you will simply polish away over time, and you'll be left with nothing except for a thin gel coat with with pinholes and other sort of blemishes. Another very, very similar case is with teak decks. People love to scrub teak, but of course the boat builders, and I speak as a boat builder myself, love seeing people scrub teaks, because I know very well that within a few years they're going to want another teak deck, and they hopefully will come to me and I will build it for them. But my advice to them is, if it doesn't need doing, don't do it, which is great, great news for the lazy. I think it's extremely important that when you're working on a boat and dealing with materials that you're not entirely familiar with, you must read the instructions that come with it. Not only read the instructions, but heed the instructions. This is particularly the case when you're working with things like epoxies, where people say that they can vary the speed of the resin by altering the proportion between the one component and the other, typically the resin, the base resin, and the hardener. They can't. The proportions are prescribed by the chemists that made the stuff, and if you do vary the proportions, then you will weaken the strength of the resin. So read the instructions, heed the instructions, and don't vary from that. A very important point is the one which is expressed by the thing that prevention is better than the cure. A lot of sailors find that they're repairing stuff that was avoidable if they'd taken preventative measures earlier. So, for instance, sails should be taken off the boat during the winter. Anything of value or mechanically complicated, maybe a windlass should have a cover on it, and just generally heed the notion that things are going to weather when they're exposed to the elements. The elements are actually quite fierce, and the more you can do to protect your boat, the less you'll have to do in the spring when it comes to getting it ready to launch. Clearly, if the top sides are dirty or something like that, or the stainless steel is a little bit tarnished, then there's no harm at all in polishing it and cleaning it, hosing it down, whatever. But if it's if there's some structural damage, then I think it's very important to get the advice of the experts, and certainly to sort of heed what they say. Boats are very complicated mechanisms, and they can fail. The experienced boat owner actually knows his boat pretty well, and he knows where the work has to be directed, and he probably doesn't need me to tell him. But what I would do is repeat what I said earlier and say, don't do too much. Do the very least you need to and settle for that. I think that's a wonderful philosophy myself. I abide by it every day, and it makes life considerably easier. My last top tip, of course, is an obvious one. Read the book. It's full of stuff which will be of interest to you and useful to you, and hopefully it will help you preserve your boat for as long as you should need it.